They thought he was broken. A forgotten man in a dusty wheelchair, abandoned by the very family he once built an empire for. But they didn't know Arthur Graham. They didn't know that silence can sharpen into steel, that patience can turn into a weapon. And when the moment came, he wouldn't just stand, he'd make them fall. The house was silent, eerily silent. A stale box of cold pizza sat on the table, the only sign of life in a dimly lit living room. Maria pushed the door wider, calling softly, "Dad." Her voice echoed unanswered. Then she saw him, her father-in-law Arthur, sitting motionless in his wheelchair, his face half hidden in the shadows. For a terrifying second, she thought he was dead. Before she could rush to him, a sudden video call lit up his tablet. On the screen appeared her husband, Daniel, and his mother, Veronica, laughing in the sunlight of Hawaii's beaches, margaritas in hand. "Happy birthday, Arthur." Veronica mocked, blowing a kiss. "Oh wait. You can't even blow out candles, can you?" Daniel chuckled, adding, "Yeah, have fun with the cripple." Maria's stomach twisted. Arthur's eyes flinched. But then, his lips curled into something Maria hadn't seen in years, a smile. Slowly, with trembling hands, he pushed himself up from the wheelchair. Maria gasped. His voice was steady. "It's showtime. Let's make them pay." Arthur Graham had once been a titan. A brilliant entrepreneur, sharp-minded, and ambitious. He built a company that became the backbone of his family's fortune. He married young, loved deeply, and had a son, Daniel. But wealth bred arrogance in his wife, Veronica, and entitlement in Daniel. Arthur, however, remained humble until tragedy struck. 5 years ago, an accident left him paralyzed from the waist down. Or so the world believed. He had been crushed under a collapsed scaffolding at his own construction site. His wife and son didn't shed tears. They saw opportunity. With Arthur wheelchair-bound, Veronica took control of the company. Daniel became the pampered heir. And slowly, Arthur was pushed to the corner of his own empire. They moved him to the quiet mansion on the outskirts of town. A nurse was hired but soon fired. Excuses piled up. "He's too difficult. He doesn't want help." In truth, they had abandoned him. Only Maria, Daniel's wife, showed kindness. She was from a modest family, not the type Veronica approved of. But Arthur saw in her a glimmer of decency. She visited when she could, bringing warm food, listening to his stories. She saw not a cripple, but a man imprisoned in silence. Unbeknownst to all, Arthur had been regaining strength. Hours of secret physiotherapy, sleepless nights forcing his muscles back to life. All hidden from the family that wanted him forgotten. He never showed it until now. Maria dropped her bag on the floor, eyes wide as Arthur straightened his back and pushed himself upright. "Arthur, how you said." "I said what they needed to hear," he interrupted, steadying himself with the armrest. His voice was calm, but beneath it brewed a storm. "Do you know what today is, Maria?" "Your birthday," she whispered. "No," Arthur corrected. His eyes gleamed with a dangerous fire. "Today is the day I take everything back." Maria was torn, fearful yet drawn in. She had endured Daniel's neglect, his cruelty masked as charm, his nights out while she sat home alone. She had suffered Veronica's constant insults, being treated like dirt at family gatherings. And now, standing in that dimly lit room with Arthur, she realized she wasn't just an in-law. She was about to become an accomplice. Arthur revealed his secret. Years of pretending, biding time, watching Veronica and Daniel squander his empire. What they didn't know was that Arthur had quietly retained control over key assets through trusted allies, a few loyal board members, an old lawyer friend, and hidden accounts. "They think I'm powerless," he said. "But money, power, control, they don't vanish. They just wait." Maria listened, her heart pounding. "I want you to help me, Maria. Not because you owe me, but because you deserve better than him. Better than them." She hesitated. "If they find out." "They won't," Arthur cut in. "Not until it's too late." That night, Arthur stood without his wheelchair for the first time in years. His legs shook, but his will was iron. Maria held him steady, tears welling in her eyes, not from pity, but from awe. Arthur's plan was meticulous. He would not confront them with violence. That was too easy. No, he wanted them to crumble, to feel humiliation, betrayal, and fear. Step 1. Control the company. Arthur still held a 30% share hidden under a foundation's name. Maria, through a series of signatures and silent boardroom moves orchestrated by Arthur's lawyer, transferred voting power back to him. Step 2. Expose Daniel's corruption. Arthur had kept files, bank records, proof of embezzlement. Daniel had siphoned millions to fuel his lavish trips, gambling debts, and affairs. Step 3. Strip Veronica of her influence. She had enemies, maids she underpaid, employees she insulted, investors she betrayed. Arthur gathered them one by one, promising justice. But Arthur wanted more than financial ruin. He wanted humiliation. And so he orchestrated the perfect stage. Veronica and Daniel's triumphant return from Hawaii. When Daniel and Veronica returned, the mansion was alive with lights and music. A belated birthday celebration, Maria had told them. Curious, they entered, expecting to see Arthur slumped in his chair. Instead, the sight froze them. Arthur stood tall at the center of the room, dressed sharply in a black suit, a glass of wine in hand. Guests filled the hall. Board members, former allies, family, friends. All eyes turned toward the couple. "Welcome home," Arthur said, his voice booming. "Did you have fun in Hawaii?" Daniel stammered. How are you?" Veronica's face turned pale. "This is impossible." "Oh, nothing is impossible," Arthur smirked. "Especially not revenge." The evening unfolded like a trial. One by one, Arthur revealed secrets. Screenshots of Daniel's affairs projected on the big screen. Bank statements proving his theft. Videos of Veronica mocking employees, mistreating staff. The guests gasped, whispered, some laughed cruelly. Daniel's reputation crumbled. Veronica's pride shattered. But Arthur wasn't finished. He played the video call, Veronica and Daniel laughing in Hawaii, mocking him. The room went silent, then erupted in disgust. Even Daniel's closest friends turned away. Veronica tried to shout, "This is manipulation. He's lying." But Arthur stepped forward, his eyes locked on hers. "For years, you called me a cripple. Tonight, you see the man who stood while you fell." Daniel lunged forward, furious. "You ruined me." "No, son," Arthur said coldly. "You ruined yourself." But revenge rarely ends cleanly. That night, as the crowd dispersed and humiliation settled in, Veronica whispered to Daniel, "We can still fight. We take him down permanently." They plotted murder. Maria overheard. Terrified, she rushed to Arthur. "They want to kill you." Arthur didn't flinch. "Let them try. It will be their final mistake." The trap was already set. Security cameras, hidden microphones, and loyal guards waited. When Daniel arrived with a knife, Arthur stepped into the room fully upright, strong, almost towering. "Go ahead, son," he taunted. "Prove to the world you are what I always knew weak." Daniel charged, but armed guards burst in, restraining him. Police, summoned earlier by Arthur, entered. Veronica screamed, but it was too late. They were arrested on charges of conspiracy, fraud, and attempted murder. The empire was restored. Arthur reclaimed his position, not just as head of the company, but as a man reborn. He offered Maria a choice: remain tied to Daniel or walk away free, supported by Arthur's protection. She chose freedom. In his office weeks later, Arthur stood by the window, cane in hand, watching the city skyline. His voice was quiet but laced with triumph. "They thought I was broken. But in silence, I became stronger. And when the time came, I didn't just stand. I made them fall." Maria asked softly, "Do you regret it?" Arthur's gaze hardened. "No, because sometimes revenge is the only justice left." And with that, he closed the chapter of silence, stepping fully into the light.